the Norwegian method.
I'm Gustav Eden, 3 times world champion and Kona record holder.
I'm Dr. David Lippman, a health and human performance specialist, and welcome to the Norwegian Method podcast.
The Norwegian Method.
Welcome back to the Norwegian Method podcast, series 3. Joining me today, Gustav, fresh off your efforts in Oceanside, mate. Congratulations, publicly.
Thank you. Yeah, it's only me today. Apparently, we're only doing the best results, and who would have thought, out of the Norwegians, that I would finish the best of us? It's, I wouldn't thought that regarding the training we're done, but I'm happy to take it. Really happy.
Well, it shows that it's not just a physiology competition, right? It's there's luck involved, there's skill involved, there's all sorts of other things, not just who's got the best training done. But let's talk about that a bit. You talked pre-race. I saw an interview with you, and you said you'd be very surprised if you won it. How do you feel about third? How does that sit with your pre-race expectations?
Yeah, I said that a win would be very surprising, and I think I said top 8 was ambition. I definitely said it on a different platform. Not sure if it came through on the podcast, but yeah, top 8 was my initial kind of ambition here. You know, in Ironman, they have top 8 on stage. So I felt like, might as well just say top 8. But yeah, I'm satisfied. Of course, it's a tough day. It's even though it's just a half Ironman, it's still a long day and a long training session. So I did fade towards the end, but I would say I'm still very pleased with my performance.
Well, we're going to get into that a bit more. Did you feel? I certainly felt, and maybe it's because I'm on the podcast with you, but I certainly felt like people were very much behind you. Either they were supporting you for a win, or they were very keen to see you get on the podium. I feel like you were everybody's podium hopes. How did you feel that yourself?
Yeah, I have a lot of support out there, and yeah, I definitely felt the support. I felt kind of not sorry, kind of, but I ran a little bit with Rudy, and he is the home hope. He's American, and yeah, but still people were just cheering, "Let's go, Gustav!" Like, okay, but you have an American here running with me, so you might also with Seth Ryder. He's a good friend of mine. He also like American, but people were cheering for me. So, but I'm taking it. I'm taking everything I can, and the atmosphere in Oceanside was electric. So it was good fun being back at the pointy end.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that run group because I think there's definitely some questions I have there. But let's go back pre-race. Did you have any indications this was on the cards from your training? We talked previously about your training, right? Obviously, Sierra Nevada, but then how have things been since then, training wise?
It's been good, very good. I set third all-time 1 hour power on the bike, and I had some issues with my chainring, but so the chainring bolts came off during training. I guess too much power.
I was going to say, how's the talk
so
on
the
that?
power meter wasn't working for like 3 days, and in that 3 day, I think based on Kristian's power meter, not my own, just like estimation, I did my 20-minute all-time power on the bike.
Okay.
So I knew the bike was really strong, at least power-wise. So I felt like I could push very, very good numbers, but my kind of like the system around it isn't as strong as just the raw power. So I felt like the bike power came super easy in training before, but then to hold it for almost 4 hours of race effort is something totally different. And that's why I faded towards the end, I think, because even though I'd done a lot of threshold work in altitude and the running came great the last few weeks in Sierra Nevada, we actually had some one track session because all the snow melted basically in a few days. So I had one good track session there. It's kind of different to do it 12K on a track and translating that into race pace speed. But the indication in training was was good the last week in altitude. Of course, then it's different when you come down. And we had an insane long travel coming to the US. We had planned a long travel. So from Malaga to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Minneapolis, and Minneapolis, San Diego, because I was the traveling logistics, and
Wow.
we didn't
Okay.
really think to fly to LAX, but I guess that would be a much better option. But we missed our flight in Minneapolis,
Oh
had
no.
to be rerouted through Salt Lake City, didn't make our connection in Salt Lake City either, had to spend the night at the airport there, and then we came in the morning to San Diego, and it was just a hassle. And that took away some energy, but still, it was good when we started training in the sea level in Sun or in Oceanside before the race.
Yeah. Okay. And so it was a wasted day, probably an extra day of travel.
Yeah, yeah.
That's brutal. Brutal. You mentioned before power was going well in on the bike. I noticed your bike position changed a little bit. We've been talking a lot about bike position the last couple of podcasts. Is this work in progress, or is it kind of we're pretty close? We're pretty happy. What do we think?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty close to where I want to be. I have not made any optimized gear selection yet. Now I just have the standard aero bars, but position wise, I feel pretty confident that this is good. I can push great numbers, and we did some testing with Body Rocket also in Sierra Nevada or Granada, and the aero gains is like it's good. It's not as fast as the stretched out. I think it's hard to really compare now the data from here to many months ago, but I think that's slightly faster in a straight line. But this one is definitely faster and more stable in a lot of wind. So I would say I'm very happy with the position right now.
And that's with view towards Nice, right? Trying to because we talked a bit about hands down, a bit more maneuverability for Nice rather than Kona, where there's the long straights.
Yeah, so this is my niche position, and even though I'm quite a bit lower in the front end, uh, climbing is amazing. Like I feel super strong being low in the aero position. So yeah, I'm really really confident that this is the right position for Nice.
Awesome. Well, that's excited. And let's talk about the race, mate. Like, let's go through it. How was the swim? What do you think? And how were you feeling coming out of that swim?
Yeah, we actually swam in the ocean the day before the race, and it was cold, like Norwegian cold. It was 11 point something degrees in the water, and I almost got cramped in my feet just going into the sand in the ocean. And we had a briefing the same day as we swam in the ocean, and they said that yeah, it might be cancelled or shortened because it was so cold. And we like asked questions like, yeah, if the race had been today, would it be cancelled or shortened? And then the race director was just like, yeah, but the race wasn't today, so I don't want to say anything. What kind of answer is that? So yeah, it was really really cold, but on race morning it actually heated up a little bit, and I felt decently in control in the water. It was a good swim, not amazing. I felt yeah, kind of in control for most of it, except going back. It's if you haven't raced Oceanside before, it's a really really strong sun straight into your eyes, and we couldn't test out the waters at the race venue before the start, only the at the beach. So I didn't exactly know kind of how to handle it, but it was still a good, and just came out of the water just behind Kristian, so felt yeah, kind of relaxed when I saw him, because yeah, it's always good to have someone to kind of rely on.
Yeah, because you guys came out, I think it was 67 and 70 seconds back or so. How does that sit with what you guys thought in terms of planning the race?
I thought it was going to be a bit closer in seconds, maybe, but it was a huge gap there. Like it was not too many people in between us, even though it was quite some time. And I guess yeah, the leader of my pack didn't push too much when we saw that was a gap. So I could always swim quite a bit harder, but I felt pretty comfortable where I was just behind Kristian. So it was, yeah, not an insane hard swim, but yeah, it was good.
We talk a lot about your swim on this podcast and how you're feeling with it and all that. How do you, I guess, rating it from like how you felt in the water, all the work you've been doing? How do you feel about where your swim's at the moment with an eye on Texas?
It's going to be different because Texas is most likely going to be non-wetsuit, I guess. It's going to be quite warm here the next couple of weeks. And that, for me, could play, yeah, things. I'm not quite sure yet how to feel about Texas. But I think a wetsuit swim should suit me a little bit better. But hopefully I can, yeah, swim some good sessions here, even though it's only yards where we swim now. And usually I swim better after I've been training quite a lot in long course meters. But hopefully I can perform okay in Texas as well. But it's not good what we swam now in Oceanside, but it's yeah, it's good enough, I would say.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess, as you said, you were kind of comfortable in the pack. Your other option is swim up to the other pack, burn a bunch of matches, and see how you go. And
Not an option for me. Burn
no,
matches.
no. Um, I noticed watching the coverage, it was a really long run in T1. I don't
Yeah,
know if like, how do you feel about that? It
yeah,
just,
especially coming out of the cold water. It was a really, really long run, and there was no carpets for the most of it. So it felt like running on needles after exiting the cold water and running there. But yeah, I didn't feel anything in my Achilles, and I guess that's the most important thing
yeah,
for me. I can handle like normal pain. My pain threshold, I think, is high when it's nothing dangerous. Like I think I can handle like torture really well, unless it's all torture that can damage me long term. But yeah, it was fun, and I felt like I could catch up a little bit. And yeah, I prefer running over swimming. So for me, it was good to have a little bit of a run to my bike.
yeah, fair enough. And you look like you had a pretty good T1. How are you feeling in T1 in general? Like you sort of looking at your splits in there and sort of where you compare to other people. It looks like you moved through it pretty quickly. You must have been feeling pretty good out of the swim.
Yeah, I felt in control. Have a new size in my DeBoer wetsuit, and the old one was slightly tight, I would say. Now I have like an updated size, and it was much easier to get out of. I think even the liner is like more slippery or something. But it felt good coming out of it, and I was pretty efficient, even though it's a long time since I did a race now. I feel like where T1 really, really mattered. I managed to stay calm and be quick. I think it was before Kristian out even, and that's good.
Yeah, it's usually a good sign. Obviously, you guys got out in the bike. It was a big pack of you. Was that what you thought would happen? That you'd be in that pack and sort of chase up to the leaders on the swim?
Um, yeah, I didn't have like one set scenario. I had like 10 different scenarios in my head, and this was definitely, yeah, most of my scenarios coming out of the water a little bit behind and chasing. And we pushed hard in the start. Kristian was on the move and aggressive as always, but I was pretty comfortable following his wheel. And I didn't have any issues bridging up there. So it was fun being racing and overtaking some people. It was a guy who crashed quite early on the bike, and then I was kind of like, I didn't. They didn't bring me out of the race situation. It was more like, okay, even though it's kind of a highway-ish situation, you still have to pay attention and look forward and kind of be on top of it because, yeah, it was a lot of sketchy roads, a lot of holes there, and most of the race being in the military area, you couldn't do any course recon before, so everything was new for me. And that's seldom a good thing on race day to, yeah, push power and at the same time be aware of the race course. I only memorized the map, so I knew exactly kind of where the turnaround was and such, and I knew kind of visually in my head where I was in the course and what's next. But it's really, really hard to, yeah, taking a decision based on a flat map when what's making this race unique is the potholes and the small hard hills. So I think if I'm coming back another year, I would have a lot of a lot more advantage on the bike.
The Norwegian method.
Morton's hydrogel technology encapsulates carbohydrates, making their gels and drink mix easy to consume and easy on the stomach. With no added colors, flavors, or preservatives, you get exactly what you need and nothing you don't. It's the fuel we rely on both training and to execute on the race day. To get 20% off your next purchase on morton.com, simply enter the code TNMS2 at checkout. The code is applicable once per customer on all products except the Morton Bike Hub system. Valid until December 31st, 2025.
The Norwegian method.
Yeah, the race commentators made a big deal out of the number of times Paula had raced Oceanside, so it definitely seemed to be something that was warranted.
And Lionel.
Yeah, well, they were talking a lot more about how many times Paula had raced it in terms of the bike, but I think Lionel was. I think they sort of were waiting on Lionel to catch up before they talked too much about him on the bike. But what you obviously saw KB had flattered. What went through your head? I mean, I assume you already mentioned that you were comfortable with him coming out of the water. I assumed you probably thought, listen, him, Casper, and I will be together for a large portion of the bike, maybe on the run. So what went through your head when you saw he'd flattered?
I thought that it was a motorbike quite close to us, so that he could get a new wheel quite quickly. So I thought that I would just go to the front and be a substitute Kristian for a while. So after he pulled out to the side, I passed Seth Ryder to take the front. And I wouldn't say I pushed very hard, but I did commit to leading the pack for a little bit. And it was fun being in the lead. I enjoyed it, put my head down, and felt like, okay, now I'm gonna create some gaps maybe. But I don't think anyone was like borderline drafting or anything, but it was just people were committed to being in the group, so it was hard to make some gaps. But it was fun to be substitute Kristian for a little bit.
And then a little while later, Justin went off the front, and you went with him, didn't you?
Yeah, so I signaled to him to go to the front because it changed terrain a little bit. I had the flat part, and then it came some new terrain with some more hills. And I wanted him to go to the front because I felt like I've been leading enough for a little bit. So he pushed quite hard, and I started to feel it slightly, but I got more and more drained throughout the bike. But Justin, he was strong at the front.
Yeah, and did you decide I'll go with whatever he goes, or were you very aware of that being like a bit of a move? You're maybe going to gap some people behind you.
No, I wouldn't follow him no matter what. Justin is a great swim biker, but he's lacking a little bit on a run. So it was not. I didn't race for the win here in Oceanside. It was more racing for like a good confirmation in my shape and stuff. And if I race for the win, then I would kind of make Justin ride hard at the front so I could stay on his wheel and create a gap. But when you're just racing to have a good performance, then you have to take different choices during the race. And that's what I did. I let him go a little bit and people came past me, and it was much more a pack dynamic than someone really, really gunning for it. I guess no one really committed to a single amazing attack except maybe towards the end where Rudy was pushing quite some numbers and Casper following and Justin being off the front as well. So it was more like people half committing to a lot of attacks until the last 30k where it's more maybe a little bit more commitment.
Yeah. And did you know Jake had to serve a penalty? Was that part of
No.
the calculus? No one knew. He was just up there. Okay, interesting. Because I always wonder about how much. I know I talked to you before about, in Nice, understanding where people are around you. But yeah, I always am interested in how much you guys actually know. I mean, he probably didn't even know at that stage, or maybe he did, but certainly wasn't going to tell you. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you only know if you actually see it. So, for example, in Kona 22, I saw Magnus get a penalty, and I had to tell Kristian that he got a penalty, so he wouldn't do anything stupid trying to follow him. At that time, we still thought that he would really race for the win, but he was, yeah, I think he was set back a little bit by the penalty. So yeah, Magnus in 22. So I guess it wouldn't have make too much difference. But if you kind of attack or counter-attack someone who is attacking into the penalty zone, then you can really burn yourself out because you don't get the 5-minute break that they are getting. So I just wanted to make sure that Kristian also knew that he got a penalty, so he wouldn't do anything rash.
yeah, that makes sense. And I guess coming off the bike, how were you feeling about things in terms of the race dynamics? Your ride, and your ride specifically, and then like where you're at in the race and the race dynamics.
Yeah, I felt good. I could see the front of the bike because the transition is really long, so I knew approximately where all the athletes was. And I saw Casper had lost quite some time to Rudy, and then he told me afterwards that's because he dismounted on a mount line and had to go off and on the bike again. So a bit of a rookie mistake there.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So
Yeah.
happy you mentioned it without me having to ask.
Yeah, it was made quite clear in the briefing. So yeah, I had no issues there, but he was. I guess he was a bit stressed in the race situation and suddenly saw a red line and then dismounted. But yeah, I could see the whole lead of the people. The only one I was worried, or not worried about, more like questioning, was where Kristian was because I haven't heard anything about it. So I was like, okay, did he get a wheel quickly? How far behind is he? And then it was first when I started running and asked some spectators that I got some information that he was like 10 minutes behind. So I'm like, okay, 10 minutes, that's most likely he's not going to catch me, even though like I wasn't thinking about where he was going to finish. I was mostly thinking about my performance, but it's good to know where people are. But in T2, I wouldn't say fully cramping, but I did feel when I bent down to put on my shoes that there was some unpleasant movement in my muscles. I wouldn't say it's like a full cramp, but kinda.
Again, another question I had for you. It's like you've read my question list. Yeah, we definitely saw you stretching on camera, and we were,
Yeah.
I got a couple of text messages going, "Is he cramping? What's going on?" So okay, and which muscles was it? Hip flexors or
It was the front
the
thigh,
quads?
the
Yeah,
quads.
quads.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
higher up, quite
yeah.
high.
Okay, interesting. And I saw some commentary that you said you'd overbiked a bit. Do you still think you overbiked, or
Yeah.
yeah? And
Like as I said, my power numbers in Sierra was great, but I haven't kind of adapted it fully. So even though I can do it in training and racing for a little bit, I still haven't. I'm not efficient on those numbers and draw a lot of sugars, and I actually kind of consumed a little borderline little on the bike as well. So definitely overbiked under fuel. But yeah, I was in the dynamic, so I wasn't that. It wasn't like stupid overbiking. It was more being in the zone overbiking.
yeah, and perhaps at let's call it 2002 or sorry 2022, you probably get away with that. It's probably not a problem for you, but given you're not quite where you want to be at the moment, you probably can't afford to make those decisions. And the underfueling aspect, was it just I'm in the zone and the course is technical enough that I can't take as much as I want? Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, lost the bottle and didn't want to take too much of the race nutrition.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it is okay, but I have like no idea how much carbs is in it, and I'm not. That's not something I train with either, so I'm not comfortable on consuming an insane amount of those things. So when I lost my bottle, I tried to take some gels instead, but I didn't take enough. So it's just, I wouldn't say rookie mistake losing my bottles, because the surface there is tough, but it was more that I should have been taking a little bit more gels, I guess. But I thought it would be okay.
And so when you go back to win next year, what's the strategy there nutrition-wise? Is it extra gels as an emergency? Is it rubber bands on the bike, on the bottles? What's the story?
Yeah, I guess both. Yeah.
Both, okay.
Yeah.
And talk to me about the speeding zone, or the reduced speed zone, because it's caught a few people out. I mean, how hard is it to keep your speed where it needs to be? Like, I just, it's a bizarre concept for me. I understand why and that, but it's sort of, it's very strange, very interesting and nuanced for a course.
I luckily kind of remembered how much it was in k per hour, because all the signals is in miles per hour, and I think it was 35 miles per hour is 57 k per hour or something.
Yeah.
And I'm racing with my watch and not the computer, because in my position I feel like it's better and easier to just watch the watch.
Yeah.
So I luckily had one data screen with current k per hour on. So I just switched to that site, and then I tried to hold like 54 just to be super safe. And I wasn't leading at that time either. Jake was leading, and he was riding quite a bit faster than me. So I knew that if he's okay now, I'm definitely going to be okay. But I felt like, it is a bit strange to have a speeding zone in a race like this, especially when I didn't find the course to be like dangerous or anything, especially not that section. I do understand that we're racing on a military base, and they don't want anything to, they don't want to have high risk scenario. So
yeah, I mean, look, it's an interesting part of the course. Looking at it, the road looked pretty average, and there was a couple of bends, but it looked like something that you should all manage. But perhaps not everyone's quite as good a cyclist as you or some of the other guys in the.
Yeah, and I do understand having it for age groupers, because it is not a race in that sense. But for the pros, I mean, it's a safety thing, and I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. But it wasn't dangerous in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, and so onto the run, you come out of T2, you sort of know where everyone is. What's going through your mind as you're leaving T2?
First K, I was running with Sam Appleton, and I asked him to, what his pace was going to be, or like if it had an ambition, because I didn't know exactly where I would finish either, and I wanted to kind of pace myself around someone who, wouldn't say it's more experienced, but kind of had knew more from training where to finish. And he said a 112. I'm like, okay, that's going to be nice. I'm going to run with him, because that's kind of where I thought I was finished after that bike. And then I got a bit eager, and then I was running a little bit faster and faster, and I felt amazing. The first 6K was so easy, and I just felt super in control. But then I think the overbiking / underfueling caught up to me, and when I first caught up with the leaders and Rudy and Seth and those guys, and pushing to the lead, I think I was leading for maybe 1K before I started to fade again. But it was worth it, kind of taking a chance. And I didn't feel in the moment that I was taking a chance, even though I saw that on my watch that I was running too fast to where I've been training. I felt so in control that, and then it wasn't anything that happened, I would say. It was just that I was slowly fading, and I was struggling already being in a group before Lionel came up. But when Lionel came up and then eventually passed us, then I was definitely over. Then it was just way too fast, and I was drained, and my calves and quads and hamstring was starting to cramp up a little bit, and my technique was deteriorating. So it was basically everything was getting slightly worse. And when you're kind of drained of energy and the technique is getting worse and your quads are burning, then of course you're not having anything to respond with towards the end.
The Norwegian method.
We have been using Plasmade for the last 18 months, and what I love the most is how it helped me get ready for the hardest sessions. A hard session is tough in itself, but with Plasmade it just gives me that little bit extra that helps me perform every single time. We use Plasmade approximately 40 minutes before training and sometimes before flights. After using Plasmade, I feel like the oxygen is just more available in my muscles. I felt like every single breath is utilized more. Alongside their orange, strawberry and watermelon flavors, Plasmade have launched a new delicious pineapple citrus flavor. Visit plasmade.co.uk and use the code NM15 for 15% off your order.
The Norwegian method.
So looking at your splits, your first 6K actually looked a little bit looked like you were struggling, and then from 6K onwards, it looked like you kicked on. So you're saying you actually felt really good in that first 6K. It was just everybody else was going way, way faster.
Yeah. But I did catch up though for the first 6.
Yeah, but you sort of, if you look at the splits, at least splits we got in the app, you're kind of a little bit slower, and then at 6Ks you're like flying. So it was like I was wondering if there was a cramping issue, or running off the bike was a bit funny or something like this that maybe affected it, and then you came good at that point. But it's interesting to say you felt so good. What did you think? So Casper came past you pretty early. Did you think to go with him? Or did you think, no, he's going too fast? Or do you think, what was going through your mind? Because again, obviously you train a lot with him. You probably know where he's at.
No, he was. He came off the bike a bit early, but he was still in front of me after T2.
Okay.
But I could see him in front of me, and we were staying like at 30 seconds for some time, and then I caught up with him, and then I told him we're going to Marbella, because like I wanted to motivate him to get a ticket to Marbella, because that's part of the reason why he was racing here, to just punch his ticket and get there. But he was just flat. He didn't have anything to push with, and he was losing a lot of time more and more. So I think, he was actually passed by Kristian as well.
Yeah.
And Kristian was quite far behind. So
yeah, it's a tough day. So what did you have an eye on behind you? Were you worried about people like Patrick or Lionel coming through, or were you pretty just in your own thing, doing your own race?
I wouldn't say worried in that sense. I saw Lionel coming, so I wasn't worried, but I knew he was there. I was more towards the end, when I kind of had the podium, that I was gonna fade, and then Seth retaking the third place. That's when I was getting worried. But before the last 5K, then it's more, you're pushing what you have, but in the end, it's not much you can do other than really push what you can. Yeah. And if someone takes you, then it's it's more worrying, because you have nothing, you can't do anything about it. So you just hope that no one is coming. If you're earlier, then I feel like you can have a bigger say in it and try to defend your position. But towards the end, you're just you either make it or you don't.
Yeah. And so when you're in that group with Seth and Rudy, were you guys talking? What was going through your mind? How were you feeling about things?
No one was talking, and I was leading in the start, because I was the one overtaking. Yeah. And it was quite some headwind going back towards the finish line, and I didn't want to be in the wind, so I kind of pulled out to the side and slowed down a little bit. And then I thought, okay, now I'm going to relax, and then I'm going to push, and then going to gap them, and then I will run to victory. But that's not how things turned out. But it was fun being in the lead there and try to be tactical. It's always more fun to be tactical when you actually have some cards to play with. I started out with some cards, but I think not too many cards that was playable towards the end. But it was still fun to be in the poker game, even though you're sitting there with a 3 and a 4. of different suits. So it's I tried to have the poker face and just be at the end, but yeah. Not a winning card.
And so Lionel comes through and Seth goes with him. What did you think at that point when Seth went with him? Did you think you'd see Seth again, or were
Yeah.
you? Yeah, you thought you.
I thought, based on the running that Seth has been doing up to that point, nothing really signaled that he was on fire and had another gear. So I was surprised when I saw him so aggressive with the Lionel. He could have made it it could have made sense. It was like 5K to go and go one aggressive attack. But at this point, it was still 10K to go or something. So it was ambitious, in my opinion. And I thought that he's gonna struggle, and I turned out to have, it was correct.
Yeah, and so at that point, or a little while later, Rudy. So Seth dropped back a bit, and Rudy passed him. Did you start to think, listen, I've got like Seth's in my crosshairs here. I'm coming for third. This is what's happening.
I thought that I thought actually I could take Rudy as well.
Okay.
So I had my eyes on second place for some time, but Rudy's he's very experienced in this distance and almost even more at the full distance. So I knew that he wouldn't do anything really rash. And I knew that he would be experienced and do the right decisions. So I knew it was harder for me to kind of crack him. But Seth, I felt, I of course, you never know in a race situation, but based on what I've seen from his run on the first stage of the Oceanside, then I thought I would catch him. But Rudy was a bit more worrying, even though he was closer to me.
Yeah. Okay. And overall in the run, you ran 73:30. How do you feel about that?
Like coming third is a good performance, especially in the Pro Series. But the run time is nothing amazing. It was, I wouldn't say bad conditions, because Kristian ran a 107, so it couldn't be that bad. But it was also not amazing conditions. So that's why I think I overbiked a little bit, because even though I haven't been running that much lately, I would still think that I could run a little bit better than this.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you said, you were chatting early in the run and said, "Yep, 72. That's good. That'll be great."
Yeah.
So you're there or thereabouts, a little bit slower, but I mean,
Yeah.
you ran faster than Patrick, so it's always it's always a nice thing to say like, oh,
Yeah.
so
He's also here in Texas. We saw him today in the pool getting ready for Woodlands or Armen, Texas. But he's interesting how big difference is for him in the half and the full distance. That's it's interesting.
Yeah, well, classic, I guess, classic diesel to some degree, right? Like really exceeds in that long distance. The short distance a little bit harder. And a couple other questions, mate. You debuted a new cap. What's the story?
I didn't even bring my Taiwanese cap, the lucky hat, on this travel, so I guess it has to wait even to Aix-en-Provence or Frankfurt or Nice.
Okay. Well, we'll wait to keep an eye on that. That's exciting. And so, where's your head at for Texas? Like, how do you? I guess this was more of a training race for you to go to Texas, and Texas is a part of the build, as you've said. You've been very clear about this year's about Nice. How do you feel your trajectory is after that?
In one way, I would say that Oceanside was very positive performance-wise. So, like finishing third, it's a good indication. But I must say I am slightly worried because how things kind of went downhill towards the end. And it was not only underfueling and overbiking. I would say it was like my muscles were not ready to run hard for 21K. So I wouldn't say worried, but I am really aware that it's a lot of work that has to be done. And it's only like 18 days till the race. So it's limited how many sessions that I have before the race and how my recovery time would be for my longer runs. And I definitely do not feel recovered from from the race. Now, when we record this, it's Tuesday, so it's not been that many days. And I had a couple of runs since, but yeah, I'm super sore in basically all running related muscles. So aware of the work that has to be done, but unsure if it's enough time and energy to make all the sessions happen. So yeah, it's fun though to have like time against you. You're not feeling relaxed in one way, which is good because it actually make you really really hungry on all sessions. You don't feel like, okay, I'm just gonna, like, all sessions are kind of fun in one way, but it's not like I'm just gonna go out there and be mindless for an hour on a run. I have to actually make every session count for the next almost 3 weeks, which is fun. It's what we live for. And I know that my general shape is very good. I haven't been testing any VO2 max, but I feel like my VO2 max is not very high. But if you have an account of threshold and VO2 max and the relationship there, I feel like it is high at the moment, especially on the bike. So I have a lot of tuning optabilities or possibilities. I can, I have some energy to kind of play around with my LT1, LT2, and Ironman race pace. So yeah, I can do a lot of things. It's just, do I have enough time? Which is going to be exciting.
Yeah, and I guess from you've made it very clear. Texas is a bit short. We're going to do Texas. You'll do what you can between now and then I assume your block post Texas is going to be a lot of work towards Nice, and that'll probably be looking at capacity, given what you've told me today, where you struggle a little bit with your capacity, the longer stuff. So there'll be, and is that different to what you thought you'd need, or do you think that's probably always what you're going to do, but now it's been really highlighted to you?
Yeah, it's slightly different. I would think that I would struggle more to get the power high, but that came easily this time around. I always had a really really high capacity, even when I did short distance. So I was never, like, I was struggling much more with the speed than the distance. So to have that struggle now, it's something kind of new for me. But it's it's definitely trainable, and it's not that hard to train, so should be simple enough to get things set for, maybe not for Texas, but for Frankfurt and Nice. It should have plenty of time.
Yeah. And you mentioned already, we touched on your Achilles briefly. You said, a couple of things. You said 12Ks on the track. You also said, the long run into T1 and the Achilles wasn't a problem, which, on hard ground with no shoes on, very flat. So those are all good signs. How is the Achilles roughly?
It's good. I don't feel anything in Achilles after the race. It's actually much more in the thigh area.
Yep.
So I would say it's progressing nicely.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about it, but I still do actions to avoid it.
Yeah, aware. Maybe not worried, but aware. And running volume, how's that going at the moment? Are you up to where you want to be, or are you still a little bit short?
Yeah, I had. Of course, it's difficult to have high run volume when you're spending 40 hours traveling and a race situation and another travel to a new place. So I think I had approximately 80K last week, which is good on a race day or race week. This week we're looking at maybe 80 again before we have a little bit more for the next week. So maybe slightly over 100. And if you look at my Strava, it's nothing there. And it's not because I gone incognito, or kind of it is because I gone incognito. But I broke my phone in my training ride in Sierra Nevada like 3 weeks ago. And I haven't replaced it because life without a phone is so freaking good. It's just amazing.
I mean, I need to ask more questions about this. I heard you broke your phone when I was trying to contact you about recording this. I thought it had blown up because of all the congratulations messages you got. But what happened on the ride? Did you drop it? Do you have cold hands and drop the phone or something?
No, I just I'm getting too aero now, so I'm so low that it just fell out of my pocket when I had to jump over a hole in air position. So yeah, that's like almost, I think it's like 3 weeks ago now, almost, yeah, maybe more. And yeah, time doesn't matter anymore. Like life without a phone is so good. It's and I have most of my stuff on my computer as well, so it's not a major issue. It's but it's big. It's more work for Kristian because he is now my logistics responsible person. But I had to raw dog the flight from the US or from from Sierra Nevada to San Diego. Like no entertainment, and then
What, you
no.
didn't have in-flight entertainment? You didn't watch any movies or anything?
Yeah, I watched one movie, but the headset was so bad. I only have the AirPods, and they're not connected with Bluetooth with the screen. So I didn't even bother watching a movie, or like I watched half a movie. But yeah,
Oh wow, that's I mean that's interesting. And so, any plans for a phone? Or are you happy without one? You're just going to leave it?
I said that I will buy it when I'm in the US, but now I've been here for over a week, and I still haven't have any immediate feel like now I need to buy it. It's just like life is so good.
That's hilarious. I've noticed you've been very active on Instagram, so it speaks volumes to the fact that it's obviously. I assume you've got somebody else helping you with your Instagram while you're away.
Yeah, so I feel I don't feel like I'm lying anything to not be on like my own posting on Instagram, but I'm not the one who is posting at the moment. But I'm telling my manager Adam to what to post and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of still active on Instagram in one way, but I don't see anything. So it's
Well,
nice.
to be fair, most of it's been reposting other people's stuff. I noticed it was actually quite cool, to be honest, as a fan, to have your Instagram account reposting stuff. So like it was reposting, say, AG1 stuff of you during the race. So that
Okay.
was actually quite cool for me to see. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool that like AG1's posting that and you're reposting it. I was like, I don't know who's managing that, but that's a really cool feature.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to
I will
see.
tell
So
Adam he's doing a good job.
yeah, well, I'll I might send him a message and let him know. That's awesome. But no, I won't keep you any longer. I know you've probably got another session today.
Yeah, we're gonna go out riding now in an hour.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll let you get to that ride, mate. Congratulations from everybody, all the listeners and everybody else, and
Thank you.
thank you for your time. And looking forward to watching you in Texas. So, and yeah, of course, send our well wishes to KB as well. So appreciate you and appreciate your time. Appreciate the listeners as well. So, listeners, please do subscribe to the podcast if you haven't yet. If you haven't rated it, please rate it and share it with somebody who's interested in how Gustav went and his stories from the race.
Thank you.
The Norwegian method.